Happy Monday, everybody. Sorry if you can hear my space heater. My office is freezing, so I really can't turn it off or my hands will go numb. That is not exaggeration. I'm right in front of a window. Okay, enough about that. What are you doing this week? Okay, so you've got your essay due this week, Sunday. Before you turn in the final draft, though, you're going to turn in a draft, right? I hesitate. It's a formal draft. Okay. I'm not going to call it a rough draft because when I say rough draft, people think like, oh, I can just like, you know, put kind of a rough, minimal kind of thing. And no, this needs to be a formal draft because that's the only way I can give you feedback on everything that you need feedback on. So if there's no citations in it, for instance, like you're on your own after that, I can't help you. But if all the citations are there, I can tell you everything that may not be correct about it so you can fix it. And uh, that goes for like source use, all that kind of stuff. It happens often that students accidentally plagiarize, and unfortunately that still counts just as much as intentional plagiarism. So this is our best defense. This is our the only silver bullet in my many years of teaching that I've found to keep students from accidentally doing those kinds of things and then failing the assignment and being really upset about it. And I don't want that to happen to you. So the best advice I can give you here is just pretend like it's the final draft, and this is the best you can do. Turn it in, and I will tell you everything that needs to be corrected. And who knows, there may be very few things that need to be corrected. It's like easy, right? Easy weekend after that point. Or there may be a lot of things that need to be corrected, but at least we caught it before it became a problem. So the way the draft is graded is just based on completeness. If you don't turn in a complete draft, you won't get a complete grade. If you turn in a complete draft, even if there's problems with it, you still get the complete grade. So you've got nothing to lose if you do your best. And what you'll get from me after I go through your draft is I will make a video. So you'll get a link to it in my feedback to you. You will have the link. So that way I know too whether you actually watched the video. It'll tell me, how many views it's got. And you can watch as many times as you need to. That's another nice thing too, and I try to keep them under 5 minutes. But basically, I just go through your draft and point out any issues I see, like, oops, you used first person here, you're not supposed to. You'll need to fix that. Oh, it looks like this citation. Oh, it looks like you're missing quotation marks here. You need that, otherwise it's plagiarism, like things like that. So, like this draft right here, they cited incorrectly, and I pointed that out to them, and they fixed it, and they got a much better grade than if they had turned this in as the final draft. They would have gotten a pretty crummy grade. Even though the essay was good, there was lots of those kinds of problems. So this is how we make sure that doesn't happen because I know you want to get grades. I want that for you too. So instead of getting all the feedback after you turn in the essay, you get it beforehand. And then basically, once you fix everything, I won't have a whole lot to say to you afterward that hasn't already been said. So it's a good system. I've been doing it this way for a couple years now, and especially for online students who I can't meet with personally, though I'm happy to meet by Zoom ahead of time if you want to. This works really well for everybody. So please take full advantage of it. So the draft is due Thursday. So I've got a couple, I'll get them back to you within a couple of days so that you've got time to make any corrections before the final draft on Sunday. Right? That is my promise to you, assuming nothing terrible goes wrong in my life. Fingers crossed. Or yours. Let's hope everything goes good. You've got some readings here as well, mostly stuff through Blackboard, but also a thing about word choice. You'll want to go through that because you'll need it for the word choice quiz. And then the final draft of the essay, final, final is due Sunday. So make sure you get that in. What else? So the actual assignment for the draft, all that stuff is in Blackboard. We'll look at the example paper in just a minute here. When you're ready to submit your own draft, you do it the same way you'd submit the essay itself. So like it says, let's get rid of me. Goodbye me. Go away. Okay. Um, Full essay one draft here for feedback, either as a Word doc or a PDF file. So just know that if you submit it as a PDF file, I won't actually be able to manipulate the document in any way like I would with a Word doc. So for instance, if there's stuff that like was in your works cited entry that was incorrect, like I might actually fix it for you. I won't give you the fixed version. You have to do that. But like I can move things around. I can manipulate the document as I'm showing you how to fix things with a Word doc. Can't do that with a PDF. So just keep that in mind when deciding what kind of file to submit to me. It needs to have the full introduction with your thesis statement in it, body paragraphs, conclusion, all your citations need to be there. Works cited shouldn't be hard because I'm going to give you feedback on that within the next day or so you can make any corrections you need to. And like I said, full credit for complete drafts only. If you have specific concerns or questions that you would like me to address, if there's something like, I just don't know what to do about such and such, go ahead and pop them down here in this box when you go to submit. And oh, everything's stuck. Went stuck on me. When you go to submit, why won't you do it? All right, well, I'll allow you to do that. Following content. I'll fix that. Okay, put your question down here, and I will make sure to address it. But if you don't have any specific questions, that's fine too. Just like, take a look at all of it. Deal. I'll look at things besides what you asked me to as well. Sometimes what students think they have a problem with is not at all what they have a problem with. So I worked in the writing center doing tutoring for a long time, and yes, most of the time what people think their issue is really the least of their concerns, or maybe it's fine, but there's other things that they didn't even know they had a problem with. So that's what we'll find out. All right, you got a word choice quiz. This is where you're going to submit the final draft. Okay, so notice this one says draft, this one just says essay 1, different due dates. Okay, so finished paper. Let's take a peek. I've already got it open. Okay, so you've had access to this for a while, so hopefully you've already looked at it. What I really want to focus on is the organization and the citation, because you can read, so I'll let you read this for yourself, and I highly recommend you do. So we can assume that, this is our summary up here, and he does a good job on that. Notice he's got a quote from the video, which he cited, last name, no date or anything like that. If you put a date in your citation, I will know you didn't watch this video, because that's just not how we do it in MLA. I don't know where everybody keeps getting that idea from, but that's just not how we do it in MLA. That's APA. We don't use that. I know it sounds similar. It's not the same. If you do that in your high school classes, I'm sorry that you were taught the wrong way. It's time to do it the right way now. Okay, so here's the thesis. Robinson is correct, so that's the position, in saying that traditional schooling is killing creativity because of 1, the significance of conventional subjects, 2, the assessments for academics, and 3, the installation of the fear of being wrong. So similar to what you saw in that outline, because that was the outline for this essay, notice that he just sticks with that plan, right? So traditional subjects, math, science, and literature. That's point number 1. Assessment is used as a benchmark for success or failure. That's point number 2. Too much pressure can cause students to fear failure. Point number 3. Okay, so he did exactly what he promised to do. He's good to go. All right. So, and then he wraps up with a separate conclusion paragraph. Some additional kind of elaboration on stuff and a quote and everything, but no brand new ideas or anything. That's the only real no with a conclusion. So you just recap what was covered. Think of it like if you've ever seen one of those TV shows where you've got a courtroom. Everybody's seen a courtroom drama, I'm sure. The final argument. That's always like the most dramatic part from a courtroom drama. Think about this as your final argument, your chance to stick the landing. This is the part that your reader will remember the most when she's grading your work. Okay, so let's talk about the citation. So he's got an entry for the video itself. Okay, so I will be checking for that when I go through your works cited pages, but he used 2 additional sources. So what I do when I grade research papers, and my former 101 students have heard this before, but it's true for this class too. I start at the end. I start with the works cited page, and then what I do is I go through and I just make sure that each name, or if you don't have an author name provided by the source, we'll talk about what you do with that kind of source to cite that in text in just a second. But I go through and just make sure each one shows up. So I do a Control F, keystroke search. You can do this too. This is not something only I can do. And I just go through and I make sure that each name, each source shows up in the essay as cited in text at least one time. So I do that for each one. Control F, Bloom, and since it's 2 author names, Van Slyke-Briggs. And then Begetto. Okay. Easy. So I start with that, and I just make sure that everything matches up, because you should not have any works cited entries in your works cited page for sources that do not show up in the paper itself, cite it at least one time. Okay, but if you have entries for stuff that don't show up in the paper, that's technically plagiarism for missing citation because I don't know where you use that source or even if you use that source. Okay, there's no such thing as like general referencing of sources. I don't know what that means. Like where did you generally reference it? Even if you put the information in your own words, you still have to cite it. So that's another thing. Another area where students tend to unintentionally plagiarize. They either forget to put quotation marks around stuff that was a direct quote, which will come up in a safe assign match, by the way. Safe assign is the plagiarism detection program we have. Or they have information that's clearly outside sourced information and there's no in-text citation for it. So notice there's no quotation marks around this stuff here because the student who wrote this paper put this information in his own words. He paraphrased it, but he still has to tell me where he learned it. In this case, Beghetto. Now he could have waited until the end of the paragraph. That would have been fine because it all came from one source. But I think because he had a quote, he wanted to be extra careful. But he could have just waited till this one down here and been fine. But yeah, quotes and paraphrases, just when in doubt, cite. I never penalize students for oversighting. So even if doubling up like this, like that's totally fine with me. I don't care about that. I would much rather you oversight than undercite. You won't you will not be penalized for oversighting. You'll be severely penalized for underciting. Okay, so I hope I'm making that clear. When in doubt, cite. If you are even asking yourself, hey, does this need to be cited? The answer is yes. The answer is always yes. That's your flow chart. Cite question mark, arrow downward pointing to yes. Okay, so I make sure everything is matching up. I make sure the works cited entries themselves are done correctly, which again, I'm going to give you feedback on that within the next day or two so that you can fix anything you need to with that. And then just focus your beautiful minds on the paper itself. Okay, so you can do what I just did with this Control F search and just make sure everything's popping up. The same goes for in-text citations. If a random name shows up for, let's say you've got, okay, if I see this, okay, a random name showing up, and then, oops, there's no works cited entry for someone named Smith, we've got a problem. Because there's no way on God's green earth I'll be able to find this Smith source. I don't know anything about it. That's what the works cited entry does. It gives me all the information I need to go and find the source myself. This doesn't do that. It just names Smith. So in-text citations just give quickie little like this came from here, this came from here, this came from here, and then the works cited page gives your reader the breadcrumb trail that he or she needs to get back to the source, all the bibliographic information. They have to work together. If it's not complete and they're not matching up, then it's pointless. So students get really bent out of shape when they get a 50 or whatever because they've got citations that aren't matching up. And it's like, well, that's a lucky 50, actually. Like it could have been, really should have been a 0 because if the citation's not matching up, then it just doesn't work. I know it seems like the stakes are really high, but that's why we're doing drafts, okay? Just so we can make sure everything is copacetic. Okay, so again, if you have not read this essay, make sure you do, just so you get a good sense of like the organization, the citation, the flow of the paper. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to looking at your drafts and giving you whatever feedback you may need on them. And an easy grading process with the final drafts, just handing out A's all over the place, right? Wouldn't that be nice? It could happen. It could happen. It does happen sometimes. Could be you. All right. Y'all have a good week. If you need anything, let me know. Take care. Bye bye.